Boom, it's another day pre-recorded and we're going to take a look at all of our favorite tokens. That being said, it's going to be looking at Bitcoin, Litecoin. We're going to try to squeeze in Neo, OMG, Go. We want to look at Ripple as well, just because we think it's actually going to go lower. And some people had confused what we said in the last video, so I want to make sure I clarify that. And with this in mind, let's dive right into the charts. So Bitcoin is actually finding itself against one of its own trend lines here. Around this point, the $6,400 mark, we have the last week's worth of lower highs, or sorry, higher lows, excuse me there. And with that, if we break through here, we're likely going to come back down to the $6,200 area. And every time this has happened, it's actually done a great deal of it's put a great deal of downward pressure on the rest of the digital ecosystem. So with Ethereum, we saw it drop down to around $170 at its low. It's now currently sitting at around $220. We suspect that if Bitcoin breaks this particular trend line, it's going to open up that opportunity for potential the digital asset hunting season that we were looking for. But it's also put us in a very precarious position because we still haven't tried to break out of this lower this trend line that we've been following here. We've been following it for months and months. It's been great. It's been very stable in its movement, I guess, which is always a positive thing, because that means you can kind of rely on whatever's happening. And that's important. I think nature is fairly reliable. You know that eventually the rains will come and so will the sun. And it's important to think like that. It's important to remember that there's always another day of trading, and it keeps a good mindset in place. So with that in mind, we're going to have to keep a really close eye on this, because this area that we've been in for the last, since the beginning of September, is a very precarious spot. We actually heard some news that might look bad for Tether, so check into that if you haven't looked already. We don't actually sit in Tether. We do store everything in Bitcoin. But again, here, if these trend lines start to break, we might go back to fiat. And that's not a normal thing, but it would just... So first off, none of this is trading advice. This is strictly for information and entertainment purposes only. What I like to do here is show you guys what I'm looking at. I don't go back to fiat unless, so what I like to do is take out profits to match like quarterly or bi-yearly, I guess what my normal salary would be, and take that, because I do store a good chunk of my savings in Bitcoin, because I moved all of my gold and silver into Bitcoin early last year, which was genius, or crazy, one of the two. I'm going to call it a stroke of genius, but nonetheless, I'm not comfortable going back into fiat, although the US dollar has been proving to be relentless. It's very strong because a lot of the other failing emerging market currencies run back into the US dollar. So I do suspect the US dollar probably has another year or two left in it, which is just absurd in itself. But again, remembering that the point here is the perception of value in the ecosystem is really about decentralization. Like, the majority of the reason why anyone invested in this space is because it empowers individuals outside of the banking system. It's not about speed. It's not about cheapness. It's about the fact that you don't need any bar of entry. Now, as we've realized, in the world of decentralization, you need as many opportunities and options as possible, and this is what you see taking place. I'm going to take a look at Ripple here. We saw some funny news come out about Ripple on the CoinDesk saying, I think the only thing Ripple is good at is actually hiring Bill Clinton. And if they hired Bill Clinton, it puts it's like a shit stain on their underwear. So Ripple's walking around with a big Bill Clinton shit stain all over their pants. But nonetheless, position. The good chunk majority of people that are trading in these assets are looking to build their portfolio in Bitcoin terms, effectively. The other thing that we wanted to go over was, we had mentioned that Ripple was a pump and dump coin in comparison, and everyone's like, oh, well, what about Bitcoin? It's like, okay, well, you just didn't do your homework. So if you didn't do it, I guess I can show you the mistakes that you made in that process. Okay, so here you go. Here's the all-time chart for Bitcoin. Now, this is a massive pump. This isn't a dump because we didn't return to the lows. Whereas with Ripple, we've actually returned to the lows multiple times. See this? We've returned all the way down to the bottom. See how that's called a dump? Okay, there's a big difference, right? Bitcoin not returning to the lows, not even close to the lows, still massive, massive, massive gains. And then Ripple, oh, it dumps almost all the way back down. It dumped all the way back down to the bottom. Ta-da! Massive difference here, ladies and gentlemen. So in case you're wondering why I called Ripple a pump and dump and not Bitcoin, is because Ripple actually fits, or XRP, they're the same damn thing. Ripple's the company that works around XRP, and I'm pretty sure Ripple owns how many XRP? I'm pretty sure they own almost all of them. Ripple is not cashing out its XRP holdings. This is from January last year. This is useless, but they have $80 billion, and it could crash the entire market. So this is what we call a pre-mined token. It's held in the majority of the Fuse hands. This is not a good sign. It's actually very negative in the decentralized infrastructure. So for those of you that were wondering why I called Ripple a pump and dump, is because it always dumps back down to the bottom, where Bitcoin has never done that. It's just simple, ladies and gentlemen. All you have to do is look. So next time you say ridiculous things, please do a little homework so I don't have to repeat myself. Well, I guess I don't mind anyways. Content, right? All the more for content. Ethereum, great token, great idea. It's been following this really harsh downtrend for a while. We did actually break out of it, and we started to move sideways just this last week. So that's, I guess, a positive. We've found somewhat of a bottom. Boom, right around here. It was around the $170 mark. This is not drawn straight. There we go. It was around the $170 mark. So again, here, you could call you could call Ethereum a pump and dump, but it's never returned to its lows. It still has, whereas Ripple did that. Ripple returned to its all-time lows, right? You can see it on the chart. It's quite, if my internet would load this here, it's actually quite obvious. We've got a significant amount of room, whereas Ripple here, this is the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Anyways, just for those of you that didn't realize that was a fairly clear difference, I wanted to make sure I showed you that. So we've got I think we've hit the bottom for Ethereum here. I think we'll probably come back down, test this $170 mark one more time, especially with Bitcoin not regaining it, or not really showing its strength right now. Again, its strength is the fact that it's very decentralized. In comparison, you can never hit truly decentralized functions, because we as humans are the most important part of this economy and of this planet for what we need to do as a society. So you can't remove that. We are in some way, shape, or form a centralized point of consciousness, but we're all decentralized points of consciousness. Anyways, I hope that made sense. I know for most of you that makes sense. So let's take a quick look at Litecoin. Again, I think the entry point here for me is somewhere around the $40 to $45 mark. Let's see, I've got it around 40. My line is here drawn at 43.18, but it could be as high as 55 as the next low. But I do suspect, again, with Bitcoin, I'm testing these these lows here, especially over the next 2 weeks, which are pertinent times. We're going to have to keep a very, very close eye on it, because it might mean our entry point is coming up in the next few weeks. Same with Digibyte. We've had this amazing stagnation right around this 380 line. We've called this area since early April. We thought this was a very strong area of support and resistance for Digibyte. And as you can see here, look how thinly traded it is around this line. We're going to have to keep a really close eye on this, because I think we might actually see a breakout for Digibyte soon, which means there could be like a nice 100% profit taking. So I'm actually going to likely enter a position in Digibyte. Not advice. Strictly entertainment purposes only, because I'm willing to lose money here, right? I'm willing to make a bet, and if it goes the wrong way, I'm going to take a loss and I'm going to exit that position. If it goes the right way, I'm going to take a profit and then exit that position. You just do that relentlessly. Or if not, for those of you that have asked about the hodling and how that's a good idea, if you're just a simple investor and you want to buy and hold for the next 5 years, that's a great way to go. I like the rush of trading, and because it means I can lose something, but it also means I can gain something. There's something to be said about enjoying risk taking in life in general and overcoming fears. And although you may or may not like this, the hardest thing to do in technical analysis is actually pull the trigger on your ideas. Everyone can say they were right after the fact, but it's really pulling the trigger and sticking to your game plan. Like, oh, if I took a loss and it's going the wrong direction, the trade turns in the wrong direction, I'm just going to cut a loss. I'm not going to continue to hodl a loss. It doesn't make any sense. And I will do the same with profits, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to have that fun time risking my emotional stability and find out if I was actually right. And that's a fun thing to do for someone that's like me. OMG, again, all the way down here at the bottom. We're getting super close to what I think is an entry point. I do suspect, let's draw this line here and actually get a little closer to to my thoughts. Let's draw right at the bottom of this line. Oh yeah, see, we actually could go lower to OMG Go. I would suspect around the 488 Satoshi mark. And then for everyone that was listening yesterday, in the last video, I did make a mistake about Digibyte's price. I said 20 cents when in fact it was it was around the 4 cent. I said 40 cents was in fact around the 4 cent mark. So I apologize for that. It's not. I was actually reading the Satoshi line here, so I made a mistake in my transfers. It's at the 374 Satoshi mark right now, and that's the entry point that I was interested in. Just a quick little addendum to the other day's video. And lastly, because you guys are always interested in it, Neo. As well. I'm going to do more of these videos. Again, I'm going to try to explore more tokens and actually do deep dives right from the get-go. So as it starts to get a little slow here in Costa Rica, that's what I'm going to spend my time doing. Again, remember guys, if you like this content, give us those thumbs up. We really appreciate it. If you don't like the content, heck, give us a thumbs down. That's a great way to go too. If you're interested in starting the conversation or keeping it going, leave those comments down below. Join the Telegram channel. The Bear family there is extremely supportive and very helpful for others learning, so that is a great avenue to like constantly ask questions or to help answer other people's questions. So join our Telegram channels, smash that little bell, subscribe, all those fun things that you might want to do if you're new to the Bear family here, and join us for the ride. Lastly, like I said, we'll take a quick look at Cardano here. Again, all the way down near the bottom on the 236 line. I can't even communicate how many times we've seen this particular idea replay itself over and over again. So this is why we sell at a high and rebuy back at a low. Look, if you had hodled a Cardano, you've lost everything that you had gained. It doesn't make any sense, so we don't do that because we're actively trading. If we're not active traders, then no, just hodl whatever you think is a great idea. That's not my style. Do what is your style. That's what I support. I support you doing whatever you think is best for you, even if that is wrong. It might mean a lesson. I often have done things that I thought was the best that ended up being wrong, but it is the most valuable lesson that you can take in. And lastly here, Neo, because I think it will do well, at least for the short term here. Again, long term, everything is hit and miss. I don't look at anything for the long term except for Bitcoin, because I've held it since $90. I feel comfortable with continuing to hold it and continuing to put more value acquisition back into Bitcoin from all these other tokens. And this is a prime example. We were buying Ant shares here. We actually sold both of these tops and rebought back in the early parts of July and November. For those of you that followed that, we had a great time. We had many members call us and personally thank us because we just made massive profits off that in such a short time. And again, here you see these big pumps and these returns, but again, no dumps. Look here, see, it's never returned to the bottom, whereas Ripple has done that. Ripple has returned to the bottom. Like, let's zoom in here. Because I want to prove my point for all of you that didn't understand what I was talking about. This returned all the way to its lows. So OMG Go, it pumped and then it dumped. I'm happy to say that it did that. Look, all the way back to the bottom. There are coins that have done that. Bitcoin is not one of them. Ripple has been a consistent pump and dump coin. I don't care how you look at it. If you look at it, this is what it shows. Anyways, this is Teal with the Arcane Bear, reminding you that you are the most valuable asset that you have in your life. Follow that with your time, your energy, your emotion, and all the creativity that you bring to the world. So remember to tell the people in your life that you love them, give them a hug, a high five, however you might go about it. It's the most important part of your day. Without you, without me, without us, this ecosystem has no value. Keep that in mind. That's why decentralization is so powerful. It empowers the individual and the sovereign communities that back them. This is Teal with the Arcane Bear. We're going to sign off for the rest of the afternoon. We'll see you guys on the other side.